have you got more reserved with the way you interact with people than you were when you were younger? Whether it's just from a young man's way to interact with people to an old man's way to the interactions you've had have changed you, like dealing with the good and the bad people, because you obviously have plenty of scammers and con artists in this, and you have plenty of great people. So how do you, I guess it would be advice for people trying to navigate this world if they were starting out.
It's basically about where do you acquire intuition and wisdom, and there aren't any shortcuts. For me, I had advanced degrees in psychology by the time I started this endeavor, and so I always had a pretty good bullshit detector. I recognize con artists and liars pretty readily.
Yeah.
And part of what made me a candidate to get those advanced degrees was that it was in my nature to start with. And not everybody has that. We just have to tell everybody, don't wager in any situation more than you can afford to lose. And even if it sounds like the best deal in the world,
especially.
Yeah. Know going in that if it sounds too good to be true, very often it is too good to be true. And think of the worst consequences. And don't hesitate to say no if you can't afford to lose whatever's potentially to be lost. I wish there was a better answer than that. I wish there was take 2 of these pills and hang a right turn. But that's you learn how to navigate these situations by having seen them before and having some idea of what the probabilities are with the outcome. And I've talked about this before, having a good sense of proportion is very important in getting through life, and it can help you in so many different ways. I think probably the most creative geniuses have a sense of proportion that allows them to exceed their grasp. That they, based on that sense of proportion, they have an idea of where things end up, even if you can't see enough supporting data to calculate the statistics. Some people are born with that, some people aren't. If you got it, it's a magnificent gift. Time to move on? I'm gonna...
Ready when you are. They probably want to see pictures of dogs more than they want to hear us talk about philosophy or whatever else.
Hopefully we're able to paint a few pictures with our words.
Hopefully.
This is probably the best picture of Frisco that I own. And I hadn't looked at this in 20 years.
Yeah. He's always so old whenever you see the pictures of him.
Yeah,
It's like people decided to start taking pictures only once you've accomplished something.
Yeah. I'm sure I didn't take this picture. Well, I'm pretty sure. Because I just never cared about pictures. But you can see from that picture just how balanced he is, how well proportioned he is. And you see that scar on his left stifle. That was from an encounter with the original Lever Red dog. And this is that was Frisco's takeaway, and Lever Red's takeaway was bigger and worse.
Man, he looks so much like a dog that came off Jim to the Shine dog. It's just really heavy Frisco stuff.
Yeah.
She went down to Texas.
I've got 2 pictures of the original Earl dog, and I talked about him in a recent podcast. He was the dog that was the result of the breeding of Chinaman to Mountain Man Spider bite him. And only one puppy was born. He was too fight crazy for Mountain Man to get him bred. And I got him back. I acquired him from Mountain Man. And I worked with him using a series of techniques, which included injecting him with chorionic gonadotropin and rubbing heat blood all over his face for 2 weeks on end, and finally got him to breed. And these pictures show him after he'd just come out of the female, and proof that he had been bred.
This is the original Earl dog?
That's the original Earl.
I shouldn't have a dislike for this dog. This is a question. I have a dislike for the Earl dog because I love the Frisco dogs. And everybody that wants Chinaman with no Frisco always want the Earl dog. So how many times has just your love for something, one thing, made you blind to something else? Or just your relationship with somebody, you know it's a good dog, but you just don't want nothing to do with it because of the person or because it has a weird relationship with another dog.
It comes back to that intelligence thing. You know, a lot of people who are often of lesser intelligence have it built into their way of thinking that if you choose one of two things that are in the same category, that you have to reject the other one. They don't realize that it's equally plausible to choose both, to honor both, in a way that honors their mutual components. The fact that they were both Frisco and Earl were Chinaman bred. They were off of Chinaman. Why not use the fact that you got a Earl and you got a Frisco, both of whom were great dogs? We're both off of Chinaman. Honor Chinaman because he produced both of them. Don't think you got to choose one over the other. One of the things that pisses me off, I mean literally pisses me off, is when somebody calls me and asks me for, I want some Chinaman without the Frisco.
Yeah.
You know, and I most time
this means Earl, so to me
yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. And I will, a few people have been a recipient of a string of expletives after they make that request. Most of the time I can hang on to my feelings, but basically what they do when they say that, they out of ignorance and out of no experience, they are spitting on all the great dogs that came out of Frisco.
Frisco Ealing, Frisco Valley, the Shotzi dogs.
43 of them.
Oh.
You know, and they just they crawled out from under a rock with a mouthful of shit and they're spewing it on my dog. Okay.
Yeah.
And it just sometimes it's more than I can contain. So the message to whoever might be watching this is, don't ever call me with that. If you want Earl dogs, just ask for Earl dogs.
Yeah, that's the way I feel, and I've gotten over. There's Earl in the dog that I have.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I got to get over this because it's a good dog too.
Yeah.
I can't let a bunch of people's annoyance make me not like a dog.
Yeah, and it can all be traced back to a lack of, on their behalf, a lack of intelligence.
Unfortunately, I've run into a couple of people I don't like that say this.
Well, it's even more reason to not like them.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you hopefully after hearing this, people will lighten. The minority of people who actually look at it that way will lighten up.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the main difference is between the Earl dogs and the Frisco dogs?
The Bolio.
Yeah, and that is always, to me, that has always been adding a lot of intelligence.
Sure.
So then whether it's just because I have a graduate degree or whatever I have, I just think that that's probably the most important thing.
Absolutely, it's essential. I wasted no time in spreading bolio throughout my yard. It's by virtue of everywhere Frisco goes, bolio goes.
Yeah.
This is an interesting picture. This is Frisco's brother. This is called Frenchie's ChinaTom, off of Chinaman and China Girl. Here he's 10 months old, and he did incredible stuff. He had 2 hunts, one against a very highly titled hog that was 3 or 4 pounds bigger than him, and that hog broke both of his front legs in the first 20 minutes, and this ChinaTom killed that hog in 2 hours. That's about as that sounds like a Rocky movie. You got everything stacked against you from the beginning, and somehow just through sheer will you prevail. And I talked about this in a previous podcast. The Raghead dog was Rags, and then Raghead were both bred down from this dog and had great success. I think he was bred to a Bobby Hall bitch, heavy bully son bitch, and that produced Rags and Raghead.
Haystack had similar difficulties early. That's the story I heard. He had difficulties early and prevailed.
I had heard something. I don't remember all the specifics, but yeah, that is as I've heard.
And I really don't know the specifics a lot of the time because it really doesn't matter to me, the specifics. I mean, I can see a time and...
I don't know who owned this dog, but it says that her name is Maggie, and she was off of Chinaman to Scooter Red, which would have made her a sister to Lee Ling.
Did you have anything to say about the Scooter Red dog?
Very high caliber champion. Close bred.
People think about Tuffy when, like, Frisco, Tuffy, Bolio, but then the Scooter Red dog is in there too.
Very high caliber bolio dog.
Yeah.
Owned by Manzi Payne. I'm thinking this is Champion Chinarose as a puppy. Off of Chinaman and Zipper. Zipper's off of a direct daughter of Grand Champion Niggerino.
Looks similar to who was the puppy that was in that other picture? The bigger female with the puppy in there.
This is a picture of Garner's Travis, also known as Rocca Stonewall. This is him as a young dog. Was it a puppy with a mother?
Yeah.
That was Spike's sister, Miss Snoopy.
Yeah, Spike's sister, Miss Snoopy. The puppy off of that looked just like this dog too.
Yeah. Okay, so you did show them
Yeah.
Champion Chinarose.
Yeah.
Okay. So I bred Zipper to Chinaman twice. And we got great dogs both times. We got Champion China Girl, who was Simba's mother. Frisco back on top of that dog, Grom, produced Simba and his litter mates.
Maybe we already talked about it before, but you I asked you before, you regarded Simba as the greatest performer and maybe Dynamite as the greatest producer off of Frisco.
One could not go far wrong with making those statements. If I really wanted to do a comprehensive analysis, but if I just give it to you off my gut,
Yeah.
never seen anything any more destructive than Simba. Simba just, disassembled parts and pieces.
Who is Rocca, and why?
Frank Rocca.
Yeah, Rocca. Why is his name on his Stonewall dog?
Because they changed the name of the dog. I sold Travis to a lady named Mary Parsons when he grew up. I don't know exactly what age. She sold him to Frank. There could have been an intermediary there as well, but he was able to get the ADBA to change the dog's name. So, yeah, and a lot of times, the breeder gets written out of the equation. The creator of the dog gets written out of it by people doing that, and I want credit or blame for whatever I do. This is.
I want neither.
Sometimes it'll blow up in your face, but that's.
Yeah. You'll take all the explosions. I'll just sit back in peace. I don't need anything.
I hear you. This is Chinaman to zipper. So this would have been I did the breeding twice, so I can't say litter mate, but this would be a sister to Champion Chinarose. This is same dog, same bitch at 15 months, 36 pounds. This is an interesting dog pictured here, off of Chinaman to Wright's Bully Sandra, and the mother was Cowgirl again. So it would have been a sister to this female that produced Game Jane when bred back to Chinaman.
Look at the way things used to be done. All written down.
Yeah. Okay, this is Black Sis. I want to say Chinaman to Bucky, and Bucky's off of Pedro, and
Where is this? Do you know where this dog is?
I have no idea.
It doesn't look like the United States. Or if it does, it looks like Southwest.
It wouldn't take me long to figure it out. That's Wright's Bully Sandra. That sounds very American.
Yeah.
Trying to remember how Black Sis is bred. I know we started out with a female that was out of Art to Rascal's sister, and I talked about this in a previous podcast. And that, so it was Art to Queen, produced D. D's a big, powerful, beautiful, tan-colored bitch. And then she was bred to Grand Champion Pedro, son of Rascal, to produce Bucky, and then Bucky's bred to Chinaman to produce Black Sis. And let my friend Mike Michaud out in, formerly from Salt Lake City, currently in Phoenix. Let him have that bitch.
Looks like some of that Shotzi stuff. Some of that.
She's just a powerful Chinaman bitch. You know, her pedigree is second to none. I don't know why I'd let anybody have her. To be honest with you. We had a bitch named Prissy that was very inbred, snooty. And she was bred to Chinaman. Apparently I sold her as a pup, and somebody sent me a picture back. This says May of 1987. Here's another picture of Frisco that I don't remember ever seeing. But you can get an idea of his balance, conformational balance, distance from shoulders to hips compared to height, and in particular the head structure, the angulation of the muzzle as it comes into the forehead. And you can note the big cheeks on the side of his head like biceps. This was Frisco. I don't know if there's a year. No years listed.
Yeah, it's interesting to see almost exact clones of him.
All over the yard.
Yeah. The Camino dog. She looks like exactly like him.
Yeah.
Like the same big giant head, big hard mouth.
I've got 3 pictures of a bitch called Mercer's China doll off of Chinaman and Dolly. I've owned 2 dollies, and when you get if you've been in as long as I have, sometimes circumstances can conspire for 2 dogs to have the same name. Whenever I sell pups, I give the new buyer the right to name the dog whatever they buy from me themselves, but it's got to start with Garner's, and that's been a policy that's kind of evolved over the years. I bought 2 different dogs that were named Dolly. One was an inbred snooty bitch who was the mother of the dog that pictured in these 3 pictures I'm going to show you, and the other was Champion Dolly, who was really, really badass Eli Black Betty bred bitch. She's easily found. But this female is 1 year old in March of '86. Name's China Doll. Sold to, I think, Marla Mercer. Mercer is the last name. She's off of Chinaman and the inbred snooty Dolly. As you can see from looking at her, it's not hard to imagine that she has heavy snooty influence. I'll share with you one more picture of Champion Game Jane. We've seen several pictures of Game Jane. This one has significant information on the back. I'll read it to you and then Brad can show it to you. 3 times best in show, 1 time gamest of show, best 39 40-pound bitch of the Caribbean. Inbred Champion Chinaman, ROM. This picture is taken in April of '93. Great producer. So you can show both sides if you would. All right, so this is, looks like the name of the dog is Donnie, off of Chinaman and Miss Boomer. Miss Boomer would have been a pup that I raised from a litter that I got. The bitch was off of Rick Sorrell's Pistol Pete, and she had been bred to a son of Pistol Pete that John Walston, I believe it's John Walston, owned that dog. The bitch was already bred whenever I got her. She had a nice litter, and they were great dogs. They were very high drive, high intensity, significantly like the Lever Edge Junior dog that I had, and just based on the color and the behavior and the quality, I surmised that the Lever Edge Junior dog got much of his essence from the Carver's Moonshine dog. It was double bred Boomerang, because this Pistol Pete stuff was bred down from Gator, who was a brother to Moonshine. They had similar look, similar quality, similar behavior, super intense, very high caliber dogs. Okay, we had talked at length about Chinarose, who was off of Chinaman and Zipper. Zipper being off of Grand Champion Niggerino. And we saw a picture of her young. And found 3 more pictures of Champion Chinarose. Here it says that her performance weighs 31 3/4 pounds. This is a picture of a dog named Cyclone off of Chinaman. This is pretty much a dream breeding. Chinaman to Morgan's Phoebe, and Morgan's Phoebe is off of Buster, LaPosse's Buster, which was Bully Art's Missy, and Morgan's Sandy, also an Eli bred animal. You see a lot of the Buster look in this dog.
This is a puppy I got. I was saying looks so much like those dogs.
Yeah, she looks like where she came from.
Yeah.
Show that. This is a Hickson bred pup that Brad got off the yard that you can just see from the pictures that we shared how much she looks like her illustrious ancestor, the Lever Ridge Junior stuff.